Good, excellent. So we, in Nam Academy, today we talk about daily practice. And what at Nam we talk about onion. Can you give me that onion right over there? It's a poster. So we talk about an onion. While we talk about an onion, I'm just gonna actually put the onion right here. It'll be there for the rest of the week. Healing happen in layers because problems happen in layers. If you look at a tree, did you know you can tell the age of a tree by how many rings it has inside? So you cut open a tree, so today's topic is daily practice. So you take a tree and if you cut it down, you will see rings. And you'll see the rings because every year the tree grow a new layer inside, and the outside go out a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Maybe the layer's added outside. I'm not a tree expert, but every year there is a new layer added. And you can see it. And so you can cut out the tree and you can say, how old was this tree? 100 years, that means there's going to be 100 rings. 50 years, that's going to be 50 rings. Every year, add on a ring. So, ek layer hunda, har saal drakht grow hunda, and it makes more layers. So that's the nature of life. Life is like that. You grow in layers. A snake grows its skin out, and then every year or every once in a while it sheds the skin and a new one comes fresh. Humans, did you know dust? Do you know what dust is? Dust is mostly human sheddings. So we're growing in layers. And so we at Nam like to use the onion. Why? Because why would you cut down a tree? Let's be honest. Why would you cut down a tree? Trees are beautiful. We love trees. Big fan of trees. Onion is the same thing. It has layers. And healing happens in layers because problems develop in layers. Your problems are like really, really big trees. At one of our sober living facilities, we have a tree that someone cut down, and then it just doesn't stop growing. It just grows into this ugly bush, and we cut it down and it grows back. When the roots are very deep, the problem keeps coming up, and the layers, and when it comes up in layers. So you have childhood problems? There's no one problem. If you had a rotten childhood, or if you had a bad experience in life, it's not once. Most of the time, it's not just one thing, it's many things, layered, one year after another. So problems develop, if they're significant problems, they develop in layers. जी तो नींद आंदी जांदी है
नहीं जी नहीं
वी बैठ कर हुने करो
हाँ जी
वी बैठ
डीप ब्रेथ करो बैठ का up down थल्ले करके
Up down.
like this.
Go and show 'em. Okay, so it's important if you're feeling yourself getting tired, never let yourself get tired. Do some activity. Do something as a way to get yourself alert. I'll make a little aside. There's one, please. At Nam, we always say one thing. We say, don't waste your breath. And here's what I mean. So in your communication with people, people have three modes of communication. They will either be alert, that's the good one. They can receive information. They will be hyperactivated. They'll be emotional, upset, really just charged up. Or they will be underactivated. They'll be sleepy, what? Speaking slow, like they're half asleep, like that guy. And so, when we say don't waste your breath, that means don't interact with anyone who's not alert. If they're not alert, you waste your breath on conveying information. If they're really all up everywhere and jumping around, your breath is best used to help them calm. Talk about calming techniques. Review tapping. This is true for your family, friends, anyone you meet in life. Basic counseling, 101. They're up, bring them down. That's better. Now he's alert. If they're up, bring them down. And then they will hear what you say 100%. If they're down, give them some stimulation. Bring them up. So that guy, I just had him do a bunch of push-ups. Now he's going to hear much more of the lecture. Why waste his time? Only ever communicate things when you're alert and when the other person's alert. This is true for you too. If you're down, you're like, and the wife says, can you, I'd really like to talk to you about my emotions right now. This thing happened. Don't do this. Yeah, honey. Okay, honey. That's annoying. That's going to annoy the other person. That's going to make them hyperactive. Far better that you say, honey, I'd like to talk. I'd love to talk. I'm just really sleepy right now. Let me go and put some cold water on my face. That's a really good one. Really cold water on your face will bring you into nice alert activation. If you've been around Nam long enough and if you've been in one of these states around me, I use provocative language. I poke. And that tends to get the job done too. Be cautious with that. But the point is if they're up, bring them down. If they're down, bring them up, and then you talk, whatever you want to talk. Otherwise, you are wasting your breath. Thank you for letting me teach that. So just coming back to the daily practice, healing happening in layers. The problem develops in layers. जो भी प्रॉब्लम हैगी है वो लेयर्स ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. So there is no one therapy, there is no one pill, कोई दवाई नहीं हैगी that changes this reality. Every human life, every animal life, every plant life, even a rock, they all develop in layers. So your problems are in layers, solution is in layers. Sorry, no other option. ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਲੇਅਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਿਵੈਲਪ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਉਹ ਤੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਣਾ it's going to take time because you have to take off layer by layer. If there's 100 layers, that's 100 slices. If it's an onion, there's that first layer, and then you take off the second layer. Sometimes you can take off, if you have good talent, skill, you can take off 2 layers at once. But it always happens in the layers. So, I've seen lots of people, they go to psychotherapy for like once a week, Dr. Gill, for 10 years. That's good. That's good. And then they say things like, after I have a session with them and we kind of talk about some of these things, like self-therapy, or they a couple of weeks later, it's like, I've made more progress in 3 weeks than I have in 10 years. I tell my team all the time at NOM, don't work hard alone. Hard work is great, but you got to work smart. You don't work smart, if all you do is work hard, you get frustrated. You're walking to Saskatoon when you want to go to Vancouver. You'll get frustrated. Tang ho jonge. Je assi dimag nahi badde. Problem. Then what I'm trying to tell you is your problem is in layers. You're trying to take every experience. You know, traumatic experience, it's not just bad thing happen. So let's say you get in car accident. That has layers. So if this let's say this tree trunk is a car accident. There's layers to it. So this outer layer might be, it might be the sound of the crash. This next layer might be the it might be the feeling of hitting your body. The next layer might be shame. That, you know, when you went home, your dad asked you, don't you know how to drive? So then you get the shame from the blame. That's usually what it is, actually. People who've been assaulted, raped, gotten in a fight, it's usually not just the original incident, it's afterwards when they go to someone that should care. ਉਹ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਕੁਝ ਗੜਬੜ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੇਅਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ spouse, husband, wife, someone, right? And they don't get support, they get why this happened to you. Why were you out that night wearing those clothes? Of course you were going to get assaulted. These things may or may not be true, but that's not the time to say them, and that's not, because that's the time for support. So when you're riding a tricycle and you fall, you hurt yourself, you know, you fall, and he's crying, yeah. That's not the time to tell him, you should know better. Because he's not alert. He's not alert. He's hyperactivated. He can't hear your reason. He can't hear your logic. And not just not helpful, it actually makes it so that that memory gets another layer. Shame from the blame. Memories can be segmented in time. First, 20 seconds. last minute. And maybe this core one is waking up in hospital. This is just an example of how memory is stored. It's not one thing. Ek cheez nahi hegi. A layers. That's the onion. So your problem is in layers. The solution is in layers. Problem is in layers. So your solution has to be in layers. And so if your tree is 100 years old, it has 100 rings, and someone like me says, go and shave the tree one layer at a time just to make you busy, you could try to do it all in one day. Take you a long time. You probably get, why am I doing this? No one likes to do impossible tasks. When something is really, really big, and the thing is this is just one memory. This is just एक memory. So imagine if you have 1 million of these. That's a lot of layers. Do you have $200,000 or $300,000 dollars an hour? Or I don't know, what's that cost? 10 years of therapy once a week, $200 a session. I'm not a rocket scientist, but that sounds like about $10,000 a year. That's about $30,000 a year or something like that. I don't know. A lot of money. No, that sounds cheap. So probably a lot more than that. So the point is, if you're not doing the work on you, no one has enough time for you unless you're a Hollywood star and you can afford daily therapy. And you know what? Kate Spade, the lady with those expensive bags, Kate Spade bags. जानते हैं Kate Spade?
Yeah.
A brand, a purse brand. You know that?
Yeah.
Kate Spade committed suicide, sadly, over some relational problem that she had. That lady was probably like a trillionaire, billionaire. Like everyone knows Kate Spade. In India, you get Kate Spade. It's everywhere.
That is something like that.
मतलब जेडी ने वो बनाई सी पर्स बहुत पैसे सी ਉਹਨੇ भी suicide कर लिया की पता reason सी who knows what the reason is, but everyone has problems. सारे दुखी है. And the thing is that even if you have all the money in the world to afford the therapy, doesn't mean you're gonna heal from that. So at NOM, we talk about self-therapy because it's not one onion, it's a truckload. You're peeling all the time. If you can peel a bunch every day, tree rings, how long does it take to cut down a tree? Not that long, considering it takes 100 years to make one. 100 साल लगते हैं दरख्त उगन थे, 100 साल नहीं लगते कट करने को. You need specialized equipment. The older the tree, maybe you need something bigger, stronger, but it doesn't take years. It doesn't take as long as the problem took to develop. It takes less time. Always. It takes less time. But it doesn't take no time. 40 years in the making. Most people, 30, 40 years their problem has been. 60 years. And if your parents had problems, you got their problems too. So then, these problems are very long in the making. And so, the thing about self-therapy the thing about self-therapy is, we talked the other day about medication and how if you have this on the x-axis or the y-axis here, you have health, and on the y-axis you have dose. So dose meaning how much you do, or how much you take. If it's a medication, medications definitely help, but when the dose gets too much, they start getting side effect, and at some point the side effect makes the medication, every medication is poisonous if you take enough of it. Har dwai jara jaisi vava dose lenne. So there's a little window in which a medication is useful. But a medication is not going to help peel your layers of your onion. So your life that you have took 4 decades. I'm just going to just tell it to you straight. Your life that you have took 4 decades. 40 saal lag gaye. Et tadiyan problems banaun te. I assure you, it's not your wife that's the problem. It's not your friend who betrayed you when you were a kid. It's not any one thing. Ek cheez nahi hundi. Not with severe addiction, mental health issues. Never one thing. Never seen that. It's a series of things. Maybe you had a bunch of head injuries. Sir put gaya jahan. You had a bunch of things. Bullied over a couple of years in high school. 20 years of a difficult relationship with mom before you left the house. These are layers, okay? And so, if you're depressed today, it's a result of a large multi-layer problem. And so, medications will help you have the illusion of health in that they will numb the feeling. ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਔਖਾ ਫੀਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਜਸਟ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ 'ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ, ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ 'ਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਦਵਾਈ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਓਕੇ ਫੀਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. But it doesn't resolve all of the traumatic experiences that are stored in your mind in layers like a tree. So we talk a lot about self-therapy. And self-therapy has an efficacy curve that looks like this. So it doesn't do much. So for a long time, the benefit of self-therapy is not that much, but it has what we call an exponential curve. I'd go higher if I could, but I can't. Because, so, as you do self-therapy, if you're connecting to self, connecting to others, आप दे आप नाल जुड़ते हैं, पाठ करके, prayer करके, किसी और चंगे सियाने दे नाल जुड़ते हैं, you're connecting to yourself, meditation, prayer, whatever, breathing, you're connecting to others who are in recovery, you're peeling layers when you do that. You have to. And if you keep doing it, the efficacy increases. So maybe initially you're peeling 1 onion a day, ek onion a day. But as you go on, you might peel like 100 million onions in one session. Jidon Asin, whenever we practice anything, isn't that true? If I've been a plumber for 30 years, I'm probably a lot faster than a plumber in the first year. If I'm a taxi driver, I'm probably a lot smarter about getting to places after 30 years than I am after 1 year. If I'm a teacher, I'm probably faster about getting certain things done better than a first year teacher. Certainly as a doctor that's true. जो भी चीज ऐसी करते हैं, the longer we do it, the faster and better we get at it. And that's true for peeling your onions too. You got problem, you have lots of onions, you start peeling. So we're going to talk about ardas and things. If you're in the habit of praying, the more you pray, the better you get at it. If you're in the habit of meditating, the more you meditate, the better you get at it. And, once you get up here, every day you're making more progress in just this little bit of time than you made in all of the last, couple of months or years that you were doing it. But you can't get there unless you spend the time. Because you're healing in layers. Healing happens in layers. Problems develop in layers and healing happens in layers. Problems come up in layers, then you got to peel it in layers. ਜਿਵੇਂ ਅਨੀਅਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ layer ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਵੇਂ peel ਕਰਨਾ. There's no option. You can try anything you like. It won't work as good as connecting to self, connecting to others, and it's the daily practice that makes you good at it. Lots of people say, oh, I tried journal, it didn't work for me. Well, it's not that you didn't try, you did try. It's that it's a skill. The more messed up stuff is up here, the longer it takes to get good at it. Everyone has skills they're good at. Everyone has skills they're not good at. To build your unique set of skills, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੱਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਅਸਰ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ, it takes time. ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ time ਲੱਗਦਾ. But if you do 10 minutes a day of meditation, and just repeat that for a couple of weeks, months, you'll start to go and find that your meditation in a couple of months from today does more for you in one session than many weeks ever did. But you have to do the weeks. You have to invest. If you want to be as good as a 30-year plumber, you got to get a few years under your belt. You got to work for a few years, or an engineer, or whatever profession you've had or like. So self-therapy must be daily. That's the whole key. If you go to a retreat, yes. Come to a place like Nam, yes, you'll learn some shortcuts to make it a little faster. I know if I had something like Nam a couple of decades ago, I would probably be a lot further along. So when you get some guidance, it makes you go faster. But going to like a treatment program, going to some place is good, but only so long as you have a daily practice. So जैसे किते जानने हैं जिਵੇਂ पूजा करने वास्ते जानने हैं जहाँ से हरिमंदिर साहिब जानने हैं or we're going to go do something somewhere for a couple of weeks, really intense. If we have a daily practice of meditating, then those learnings will come and get integrated in that. ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਨਵੀਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਉਹ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਜੂਗੀ. Without the daily practice, you'll learn something, you'll say, oh yeah, that was really interesting. Oh yeah, that was good. Forget about it. And if you're not doing it, if you leave your practice, you kind of quickly end up going down. And then you have to start up again. I have a daily practice. If I stop for a few days, this is exactly what happens to me. And then I don't feel very good at all. But because I have a daily practice, because it's progressed and it's getting more and more, I can sustain what I do at Nam with all of you. And I'm happy to. I need to do a very significant daily practice. And as long as I do it, I'm good. You have lots of problems, you have a good daily practice, you can be good too. You have to invest the time. Meditation is the only thing that can give you more than 24 hours in a day. Because if you meditate for 10 minutes in a day, the rest of the day will go faster. You'll do things better. Things that took you an hour, you'll do in 45 minutes. It's a good investment of time. Any time you spend in that recovery will make the rest of your day, you'll get more done with less time. That's working smart. And then your hard work counts for something. That's what we want. Daily practice. So that's today's topic. I apologize if I was direct or misspoke, but we have to be direct in things. So, thank you.